welcome to Lilybugs Library, or welcome back. My name's Linda, and got a few Friday reads for you today, so maybe grab a cuppa and settle in, because we have a few to go over. So some of these I may have read a little bit before this week, but if I did, I forgot to tell you about them, so I added them in. So the first one that we're going to talk about is Murder at the Crown and Anchor, and this is the next in the Cleopatra Fox mystery series. And I think this is number 6 in the series, so I've gone through quite a few of them now. I'm not sure, to be honest, I'm not even sure how many there are, but I feel like I'm a fair ways into it. So just a refresher, if you haven't heard of the series before, this is Cleopatra Fox is the main character, and she has come to live with her aunt, uncle, and cousins at the Mayfair Hotel, which they own. Her family had been kind of estranged from them, but now everyone in her family has passed away except for these people, so they have taken her in. So she kind of feels a bit like the poor relative, because she's never had the money for fancy gowns and living in a hotel and all of these things. But they're very nice to her, and they've really embraced having her there and treat her well. So the main problem is she gets bored. She's not the type to just do debutante parties and, things like this. So she started getting involved in some of the mysteries that happen. And finally, eventually in this book now, her uncle is finally saying, okay, you can do this, just be careful. Whereas before, she's always kind of either hid it from him or, done things to, make it seem like she wasn't as involved as she was. So it's nice to see her be able to kind of come out in the open a little more. So in this one, it's a wealthy businessman that was staying at the hotel, and he ends up being found dead at this tavern called the Crown and Anchor. And they think the police rule it as a suicide, but it starts to look more and more like that wasn't really what happened. And so she gets involved in trying to find this out. And she tends to work a lot with this man who used to work at the hotel, and she inadvertently got him fired. And so now she's trying to kind of make that up to him. And there's a bit of romantic tension between them, although it so far hasn't led to anything. But she is working with him now. He's left the hotel. He's now a private eye, and so she works with him to solve these murders. He's a little reluctant sometimes to have her help, but she's pretty persistent. So really enjoy the series and enjoy the characters, and it's reminds me maybe a little bit of Nina Prose's The Maid, kind of a little bit along those lines. But yeah, I really like it, and we'll definitely continue the series, however many are in it. And so that one I would give 4 out of 5. So the next one I read, I just fell in love with. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's very cute and funny, and just not quite what I would normally read, but I really enjoyed it. It was called Assistant to the Villain, and I listened to it on audio, and it was it's about this woman, Sage? Evie Sage is her name. And so she's going through the forest doing something, and she hears these kind of soldiers that go by, and she's not really that alarmed by it, although maybe she should be. But the next thing she knows, the villain grabs her and, covers her mouth, pulls her away from these soldiers. And she's more scared of him, but, he's just wanting her to not be seen by these people. So she doesn't really understand, but okay. And she's not the type to be scared of much, or to show it if she is. So she jokes with him after they leave that she's looking for a job, and he offers her a job as his assistant. So she decides to take it, and he puts some kind of a magical spell on a ring on her finger or something so that she can't betray him. And so she starts coming to work every day as his assistant. And sometimes he tries to shock her. He leaves a corpse on her desk, and she's gives some smart remark to him about, am I supposed to work around the corpse, sir, or would you like me to have it moved? Like she's just very funny, and really just love the characters in this. There's a frog that he was a prince, I think, and the villain turned him into a frog. I feel like they had been friends at one point, maybe. I'm not sure, or maybe they're just friends now. But anyway, he's still a frog. But every now and again he'll hold up a sign to give his opinion on something. And it's just, like I said, it's so funny, and the humor in it is whimsical, and it's clever, and really enjoyed it. So much so that I actually finished this one and then started the second one. There's 3 in the series. So yeah, really like that one, and would give it 5 out of 5. So the next one I read was actually nonfiction, and this one was called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Oh, coffee. It's a beautiful thing. So this one is about children and teenagers in mostly the Gen Z generation, because they're saying how the millennials, and not even all of them, but at least a portion of them born in the fairly early 1990s, were the last generation to really have a play-based childhood. After that, there were smartphones, and there was social media, and everything changed, and it rewired all of childhood, so that instead of having a play-based childhood, children were having a phone-based childhood. And it's showing the damage that has done to this generation, and it shows a lot of statistics about, how much higher levels of depression and anxiety and all of this. A little depressing at times reading it. I'm very glad my daughter is who she is, and the grandkids are, she's doing all the things that she needs to do to keep them off of these devices. And, but yeah, it's always a challenge, of course. And so this one, they talk about the things that are needed for children, and that they need to have playtime without adults hovering over them, to be able to just go out with their friends and play. Play in the dirt, play in the forest, play, ride their bikes and camp and do all these things that kids love to do. And that they need to be kept away from social media until they're at least 16. They need to, not spend a lot of time on games and phones and all of these things. They need to actually be outside, living. And he had some good information in there in a lot of places. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, it says, it's unsupervised, child-led play where children best learn to tolerate bruises, handle their emotions, read other children's emotions, take turns, resolve conflicts, and play fair. And as an early childhood educator, which is what I did before, he, that's what we're taught to teach, that children need risky play. They need, they need to do all of the things it says. They need to learn to, to really play and interact with other kids, and that's how they learn. And because everything's so phone-based now, they're not learning these things. And so it's making them more anxious when they have to do things out in the world. And it's not easy at that point to all of a sudden try to figure these things out when you haven't had any experience with that when you were younger. And it does say that the tidal wave of adolescent mental illness that began in the 2010s has just gotten out of control. It says it hits girls and boys differently, but it hits them both. With girls, it's more the filters that are on all the social media things. They feel like they have to look a certain way and act a certain way. With boys, it's the addiction to video games and to pornography at some point, and all of these things that are really stealing their childhood. So, excellent read. Be great for parents, grandparents, anyone to check out. He makes a lot of very good points. So that one was good. I find it harder to rate nonfiction. Excuse me. But I would say with the information he's imparting, I would give that one a 5 out of 5. So next, Wonderful Husband and I finished reading Fahrenheit 451, which everything old is new again when you start to forget what you read before. So this one was good. It was it's incredible how much, like, this was written in the 50s, and it's incredible how relevant it still is for today. So the gist of it is that there is a firefighter who is the main character, and his name's Montag, I believe. Or is it Montag? We'll say Montag, I'm not sure. And he is, actually, did I write it down? No, of course I didn't. So the difference is in this dystopian future, firefighters burn down houses. They don't save houses from fire. So these people get a tip that someone has a book in their house, and they not only burn the book, they burn down the whole house. And sometimes the people inside of it. So it's he starts to talk to this girl who, I think she's just like a teenager, and she lives next door to him. And eventually she is killed, or she kills herself. I'm not really sure how that works. But anyway, she disappears, and he finds out that she's passed away. So he starts to think about some of the things that she talked about, and he starts to he's just got a real unease, and he doesn't know quite what to do with it. And he starts to get more interested in books and what they might have in them. And of course, that's very taboo for that future. And so it's all about him trying to figure out who he is as a person, and who other people are, and what the whole establishment is doing to society. And he goes on this fascinating journey, to figure all this out. So at times it's, I wouldn't say confusing exactly, but there's a lot of just the language in it, the way it's written. Sometimes it can be a little harder to understand parts of it. But in general, I thought it was very good and very timely, because the whole point of the story is basically that I want to call them the establishment, because I don't know if I should call them the government or what I should call them, but that the world is trying to keep people away from books for a reason, because books make you think. And it doesn't want anyone thinking. It wants everyone just being happy and doing what they're told, and not doing anything to change anything. And that's where I kind of think, yeah, social media kind of does the same thing, doesn't it? Just keep watching, just keep scrolling, and don't think too much. So anyway, very interesting. Like I said, very timely. I would give it 3.5 out of 4. So the next one I read was a new one that's come out not too long ago, I don't think, by the same person that did The Henna Artist, and this is called 6 Days in Bombay, and love the cover, so pretty. So just a second. So it's about this woman who is half English, half Indian, and she's a nurse in Bombay. And a very good nurse from what it seemed. And so she would go in, she'd look after her patients, and sometimes stay and talk to them, because a lot of them were lonely, and they wanted the company. And she thought it was a good way to be a nurse, to bring that humanity to it. Her boss didn't always think so. And so through this, she meets this woman who's an artist, and she talks a lot to her, and the woman talks a lot about her regrets and different things, and really opens up the eyes of this woman. I was trying to think of her name. For some reason, I haven't got her name. Sana, that's her name. So Sana is talking to this artist named Mira, and she's learning all these things. And it's really just opening her eyes. She's led a pretty sheltered life. It's just her and her mother has really protected her from a lot of things. And so this woman's talking about going to Prague and to Italy and to France and all the things that she did there. And it's like, it's just opening a whole new world to Sana. And so it's, the first part of it is all her with her patients and the conversations and things around the hospital and with her mother. And then the second part kind of moves out from there into the world. So won't tell you any more about it because, it's important that you read what spurs everything on. So, but I did really enjoy it, and I would give that one a 4 out of 5. And it's funny because I did read The Henna Artist as well, and I wasn't nearly as enamored with that one. So anyway, this one definitely hit the mark, though. So the next one I read was a devotional that wonderful husband and I worked on. And it was by Max Lucado, and it was called God Will Use This for Good. And it's about when tragedy strikes and people are looking for answers, they'll turn to God, whether they're believers or unbelievers. And so it talks about how God uses tragedy sometimes, but, not that he causes it, but if there is tragedy, he tries to use it for good. It was okay. I always liked Max Lucado, but this one I didn't think, he's sometimes almost too simple. He doesn't quite go deep enough for me. And so I found myself left wanting after we finished this one. It just wasn't quite enough. So that one I would give a 3 out of 5. So the last one I read, and I don't know if I'd say it was the best one, but it was certainly really good. It was the next in the Seaside Cafe Mysteries, I think they're called. And it was Tide and Punishment by Bree Baker. And just loved it. I so love this iced tea shop. It's run by Everly Swan, and she makes all these different flavors of iced tea. And now she's got like a cafe as well, so she's also doing like treats and soup and sandwiches and things like that. And in this one, it's kind of funny because in wherever she lives in Charm, North Carolina, and a snowstorm has hit her little beach town community. And so people are riding on golf carts, but trying not to slide off the road. And it's just, they don't know what to do with themselves because, they have snow and ice and they're very confused, So that's been interesting. And then she holds this holiday party, and she has like everybody from the town comes over and they're, celebrating. It's, near to Christmas time. And her Aunt Fran is thinking about running for mayor. And so Aunt Fran makes an announcement, and then the mayor is there, and he makes an announcement, and Aunt Fran's a little ticked off. And then she goes outside to cool off after and ends up discovering the mayor dead. So, of course, she is the one that's being accused of this. So, really fun. I love everything about the town. Like, Everly's a great character. She's very down to earth. She has kind of a budding relationship with the one of the police officers there. He often tells her not to get involved in these things, and she's very good at agreeing without really agreeing. It's like, and, but she still does what she wants. And I love the aunts. There's Aunt Fran and Aunt... what's the other name? Fran and... can't remember. Anyway, she has 2 aunts that live together, and they run one of the other shops, so she's very connected to them, and they're fun characters. She has a best friend who also runs a shop on the street, and so the whole thing is just really... sounds like it would be a really fun place to live without the snow, But, driving around the little community in golf carts and, checking out the different shops and having the ocean there. And it's, yeah, I really enjoy the thought of it. And I've been to North Carolina. It's beautiful there. So sounds like a good place to live. I don't know if charm actually exists, but I would like if it did. So very good plot. Really, I wouldn't say I guessed the murderer. I kind of had a couple I was thinking of, but I couldn't really decide. And then just the characters in the town itself. It's extremely cozy, and I think I always found it cozy anyway, but I think you add in the snow and kind of a forced proximity sort of thing going on and the Christmas vibes, and I think it was even better. So really loved it. One of the things they did in it that I thought was really cool, and I have heard of people doing it, although I've never been to one, is there's one part where they're doing, I can't remember, there's a name for it, but I can't remember the name. But basically the town, a lot of people in the town have decided to do progressive. That's it, a progressive supper. So some of the people are going to do appetizers, some are going to do desserts, some are going to do the main course, and then people pick what route they want to follow, and they go to where they're having their appetizers, and then from there they go to where they're having their main course, and then they go to where they're having dessert, and they'll go to where they're having cocktails, and so it just sounds really fun. And I would love to do something like that. I just think that's a neat idea. So, yeah, I think these small towns really pull out all the stops sometimes when it comes to some of these festivals and different things. So I love that. So a lot of good reading this week. And that one I would give 5 out of 5. Like I said, I really enjoyed that one. So got in, let's see, how many books is that? 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, and then probably one I read the week before. So 7 books altogether. That's not bad in a week. So that is what I read. Working on, I've been adding them all to the Mystery and Mayhem readathon. So points will go towards my team to save the people who are being targeted. And so that's been a lot of fun to participate in. The Southern Charm readathon, I confess, has kind of fallen by the wayside, just because there was nothing to, it was a normal readathon where you just read however many of the prompts you want, and that's the main part of it, so it didn't keep me as accountable, I guess. And speaking of being accountable, I don't think anything I've read in the past week was on my TBR. So I did all that work to pick things for the prompts, and I'm making these work for the prompts, but it's nothing I actually picked, I don't think. So I'll try to get back on track for that, but so far I've just been randomly picking. But it seems to be working for me, so what can you do? So I hope that everybody has a nice weekend. Happy Mother's Day to those who celebrate. And to those who it's more of a challenge on Mother's Day, I send a big virtual hug to you. And just know that it's one day and you can get through this. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope it's sunny and warm where you are. We're hoping to get out to a wildlife preservation center this weekend, but it is supposed to rain, so we will see. All right, have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.